Hello, this is the weekly water outlook from Blue Water Outlook. I'm John Feldt. Well, it's been a very active week across the Midwest. What I have here is each day the areas of severe weather. Green are hail reports, blue are wind reports, and red are tornado reports. You can see just about each day there was some severe weather over some parts of the Midwest. The red are the tornadoes, and you can see that there was a cluster of tornadoes scattered about Nebraska, South Dakota, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, and even Iowa, Illinois. So it was definitely a week of severe weather over most of the Midwest. Now, one of the reasons when we look at severe weather, I want to point out through the jet stream here, the little blue wind barbs that we call them are wind speed. And we had very high wind speeds coming along with this jet stream. Blue is the maximum. It came down through this area and then it came up to the northeast. And when we have that strong jet coming up in this region, that is very typical of severe weather. It produces wind shear and it produces energy in the atmosphere that can produce not just severe weather, but very heavy rain as well. So if we look at last week, the rainfall over the Midwest, we see a widespread heavy rain. Look at this. Red is 6 to 8 inches of rain. That dark red is 8 inches or more. Look how much of Missouri that covers. And I always mention from a flood perspective, I look at basin level precipitation, how widespread the rain is, and not just the point values of rain. But this is really impressive how much area, that area in yellow there, 2.5 inches or 3 inches covers almost the entire state of Iowa, almost the entire state of Missouri, almost all of Illinois, large parts of Indiana, even parts of the Dakotas and Nebraska. Very widespread precipitation over the last 7 days over the Midwest. If we look at percent of normal, you can see that putting it in perspective, that's anywhere from 3 to 6 times normal, the rainfall that would be expected this time of year for this specific week. Another way to look at that, especially from an agricultural standpoint, this is excess rainfall. Purple is 4 or 5 inches of excess rainfall. So somehow we have to lose that moisture. And if you look at losing only about, even on warm days, maybe about a ½ inch of moisture through evapotranspiration, it's going to take a while to get rid of that excess rain. Now, certainly some of that's going into runoff into rivers, but the soils are very saturated due to this excess rain, and it's going to take quite some time to begin to dry out thoroughly the soil column from 4 to 6 inches or even more of excess rainfall. Now here's the entire event. I just wanted to sort of show you a close-up of where the heaviest rain fell in perspective to some of the river basins. Heaviest rain fell over the Missouri River Basin, the Mississippi River Basin, the Illinois River Basin, and their tributaries. But again, a very widespread basin-wide rain event. So here's the river forecast outlook. Bring to your attention, if you haven't been listening to my Midwest flood briefings, red are moderate flooding, purple is major flooding. So the most extensive major flooding is going to occur on the Mississippi River from up along the Illinois, say around Burlington, all the way down to very close to St. Louis is major flooding. But we also have moderate flooding over the Illinois and the Missouri River basins, and then tributaries throughout Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois. Okay, so what's the big picture? The weather's been very dynamic recently. Started off somewhat quiet, but it's certainly been quite active over the last week. This week it looks a little bit, actually quite a bit less active. The jet stream is a rather weak jet stream compared to last week. It's going to be more of a zonal type flow from west to east, but there'll be enough kinks in this flow. And for example, I drew one in right here. There might be a little kink here, might be another little kink here. And each one of these will represent just enough energy to produce some scattered showers and thunderstorms. I don't think they're going to be nearly as heavy, nearly as widespread or extensive as last week, but still there'll be enough to bring a chance of precipitation over parts of the Midwest, mainly during the middle part of the week. And you can see the track of heaviest rain across North Dakota, parts of Minnesota, which was actually dry last week, across Iowa, which really doesn't need more rain right now. Hopefully that 1.4 inches will be toned down. even though that's quite a bit less than last week, because it's saturated, we really don't want any more rain in Iowa. But you can see it is somewhat scattered, not nearly as much over South Dakota, Nebraska, and western parts of Kansas. You might be wondering about all that rain in Florida. If you notice that, that's a weak tropical system. It might not even be a named system. It might just be a tropical depression or a tropical low, and that's going to stream moisture over South Florida, producing very heavy rain later this week in that area. Now let's look a little bit further out. I know that there's a lot of concern, especially in agriculture this time of year. So let's take a look at June 10th through 18th rainfall. Sometimes when I look at these bullseyes here in the 2 weeks out, I don't really give it a whole lot of credibility, but I think what it is pointing out is this track that we've seen here across North Dakota, sort of in this area, that looks like that could remain active. I think South Dakota can use some of that rain, North Dakota not quite as much, but it looks like it's not moving into the area here that's been really wet in week 2. Now, the green does mean, I don't have intensities here, but green does mean more light to moderate rain, but this is more climatologically normal for this type of year. So I would just generally look at this as green is more normal. The blues and purple are above normal rainfall. Now keep in mind, this is June 10th through 18th. Now temperatures are also been somewhat problematic as being cool and not allowing evapotranspiration or evaporation. And the top image goes through June 12th. The bottom image goes through 13th through 16th of June. And green are below normal temperatures, red are above normal. And you can see both for week 1 and week 2, generally below normal temperatures. And I know we'd like to get warmer temperatures to dry out some of the soils. Right now, I would say that it looks like the odds are that it's going to be below normal temperatures. I'm not sure if it'll be well below normal, although this week 1 with those darker green is indicating that would be well below normal temperatures. Week 2 may be just somewhat below normal temperatures. So soil moisture we see here. The changes as we get into through June 9th. This is that first week. Blue are increases in soil moisture, and that's associated with the midweek precipitation. It does look like this week there will be some drying, not a lot because of those cooler temperatures, and some scattered showers and storms in Missouri and Iowa, but I think it'll be very modest in those areas. Maybe a bit more in Illinois and Indiana because not as much scattered shower activity in those areas. So today's briefing takeaway points. This week it does look like there will be scattered showers and storms throughout the area, mainly during the middle part of the week. Some of those could produce some heavy rain, but I think for the most part the coverage and the intensities could be a lot less than last week. Unfortunately, it looks like temperatures will remain somewhat below normal this week and next week as well, and that will reduce evaporation and evapotranspiration rates across parts of the upper Midwest. Now this week I have a lot of information I'm going to be passing on to you. I'm going to be passing along agricultural information. I will be passing along the newsletter early this week where I'll be talking about the drought and information on outlooks on Thursday. So stay tuned for that information, and I will be talking again with you next week. Thanks for listening.